So, hi everyone. I think we are live now. First, I want to say that I'm extremely happy to be back for another demo day after quite a long summer break, honestly. But we are back, and I cannot wait to show you what has been done and what is coming. If you don't know me yet, I'm Albane, Product Marketing Manager at Qovery. And if you're not familiar with a demo day, the goal is to give you some insights on what has been done at Qovery for the last months and what is next to come. But once again, I'm not alone today. I have with me Romaric, which is CEO and co-founder of Qovery, if you want to say hello. And
hello, everybody.
And I also have Alessandro, which is lead product manager at Qovery.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Alessandro.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Like we didn't talk before.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, we are live today, so don't hesitate to post comment, ask question. There is a small delay between the comments and the live, like between what we are seeing, but we will try our best to answer in time. If we don't see the comment, just spam us. We will see it at some point. So before we begin, let me just remind you of the agenda. So we're going to speak a little bit about what Qovery is, if you don't know us. Then we will tackle last month's top feature, and we will have a demo from Romaric about the most important feature. And then we will speak about what is coming next. And then we will have the job deployment explanation made by Alessandro, followed by a small Q&A if we have the time to fit it. So first, so yeah, I think we can dive in. So today, developer team need to be much more autonomous to deliver new feature and fast. However, providing access to infrastructure without sufficient control often result in IT waste, including costly cloud security breaches, very expensive infrastructure cost, and is not acceptable for most organizations, and especially in high regulated industries such as healthcare, fintech, and all the other. And that's exactly where Qovery come to the rescue. So Romaric, do you think you can explain to us basically what is Qovery and how it's solving this issue?
Yeah, of course. So thanks, Alban. So yeah, maybe one question that I have for you, obviously, is like, how do you manage like what we call on-demand environments and testing environments, just to make sure that your developers can just like ship the features that they need and not being blocked because they are all using like the same environments. And this is exactly what we do provide at Qovery. So a way to make sure that any developers can just get like a testing environment in a very dynamic way, or could be like manual way. So we have like different use case, but basically how do you create like a production-like environment for those developers? Then from that, they can try out those features. That's basically what we do provide out of the box. So Qovery is something that you do install on your cloud account. So basically in just 30 minutes. And then from that, makes you able just to provision and get those environments. So it's very straightforward, very easy to use, and very accessible by any developers in the company. So this is basically what we do provide. We have like more than 30,000 developers using the platform today. So that's great. It's one more milestone. So it's pretty efficient. And the way that Qovery works and integrates in your work environment, because we do believe in the developer experience, it's something that do integrate into all those like elements. So if you have already a CI system in place, then you can integrate Qovery into your GitHub actions, GitLab CI, Cycle CI, so any kinds of CI that you are using today. If you are using GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, no problems. We do integrate into all those like VCS. Container registry, same, because maybe you're already using like a container registry in place. So we are also integrated to those elements. And we have different interfaces like the web interface, a CLI, Terraform provider, and an API that you can use. So today I'm going to make like some demos with the web interface, but obviously all the things that I can do with the web interface is doable with the other interface, including the Terraform provider, basically. So exactly. Is that understandable for you, Albane?
I think I get it. Finally, someone
Okay.
explained Qovery to me after more than a year here.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah,
Okay.
so now that you know almost everything about Qovery, let's say, we can talk about what has been going on in the last months. Maybe it's going to be actually a little bit more than in the last months because we had a break during the summer. I'm not going to go through everything we did during the summer, but I will show you the most important thing. So first thing, and not small, is we finally have our console v3 in beta testing. If you remember, and if you were here during the last demo day, Benjamin, front-end engineer, was here with us, and he was talking about the beginning of the v3, how it was imagined and all of that. And he was talking about the fact that it was about to be developed during the summer, and which has been done. So our front-end team works super hard. I can see that Remy is here in the comments. So Remy is one of the person that built this amazing v3 and put a lot of work into it. So now it's finally in beta testing. I think quite a lot of people tried it already. If you haven't, I highly recommend you to go and try it. We can probably put the link inside the comments. But basically, the reason why we created this v3 is to kind of smooth the user journey and also give you more transparency and much more insights into your infrastructure. And this include like usage and costs. There will be a lot of great things in the v3. And we also added the advanced settings straight into the v3 console. So you can deal with all these advanced settings straight in the console. In the advanced setting, there are like a lot of advanced setting, IP wise listing, everything you need, honestly. Like you can play a lot with it. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add, Alessandro, because I know you were working a lot on it.
Yeah, I think the one other point that you said before, that we're trying to improve the user experience. So this is why we really need as well your help. We've sent a survey a few days ago to all the users of the v3. So we really need your feedback. If you want to have a chat around it and have suggestion about how we can improve it, you're more than welcome, and feel free to either write it directly on this, answer directly on the survey, or just contact us via intercom. So I'm really happy to have a chat on it, and find a way to improve the v3 and collaborate with you guys.
Yeah, I will even add something is that basically the web, the console v3 is like a fully open source written in React. So if you want to contribute, so all the code is accessible. If you are hardcore coder and not gamer, and you want like just to contribute, just feel free to like open the pull request or like anything. So feel free just to edit the code and submit your changes. Yeah, thanks. I shared, by the way, the link in the chat, so you can.
Perfect. Amazing. So yeah, we cannot wait to see everyone using the v3. Honestly, today Romaric is also going to do his demo in the v3. So if you don't know what it looked like yet, you will know it very soon. So that's great, and hopefully you will want to use it after that. Next, we have again another update on the v3, which is the database creation flow. So when we had the v3 in beta at the beginning, not everything was ready, and there is still not everything that is ready, but we are adding everything step by step. And so the database creation flow has been added. I think Romaric is going to show it to us as well during his demo, so you will be able to have a feel of it. But basically, yeah, you can like set up your database and all of that in the v3. You don't need to go back and forth with the v2. So that's a second thing. And the last thing I will talk about today is the cancel deployment. So you could already cancel an environment building. But in a case where you launch like an unwanted deployment, such as the setting error or a wrong commit that you deploy, you might want to cancel the deployment after the build rather than wait for the action to be completed and then do a rollback, because it can be quite time consuming, quite annoying. You don't have the time to do it. So now it is possible. You can cancel the deployment after the build, basically. So that's a great adding, and we know that it has been quite highly requested, honestly, especially in our public roadmap. I can put you a link to our public roadmap as well, if you want to vote for ideas and stuff like this. But yeah, it was highly requested, so it's finally done. So now you can stop wasting your time. But yeah, we had also a lot of other things that were done. I'm not gonna mention them all, but we had WebSocket support, instant type choice. And if you really want to know everything in details, I would really recommend you to take a look at our changelog, which is published every 2 weeks on Qovery. So that's where you get like all the information, all the small thing that has been done, all the big things. You have linked to the documentation, so you can know how things work as well. So yeah, and we try to update it at the end of every sprint, so every 2 weeks. So I think that's it for what has been done last month from what I'm going to talk about, because we have much more coming, and that's when Romaric is coming to the stage and is going to show us really like how everything has changed during the summer and what you can do now.
Yeah, thanks, Albane. Just before getting into like the RBAC and containers, can you just like share my screen again, Albane? I can just put my, thanks. Basically, I just want to show you, so first, the database creation mentioned by Albane. So basically, so it's quite similar to what you get on the V2. So you can deploy your database right from the environment level, meaning that if you need to deploy a Postgres database or like a MySQL one, sorry, okay, it's a joke. But basically, if you need just to, this is what happens, right? During like your live webinar.
Absolutely, it's part of life.
Yeah, exactly. This is the way it works when you work remotely. But okay, so let's do it again. So basically, it's quite similar to what you get on the V2 from the V3. So you can deploy your database, so the Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB, Redis databases right from the V3. Basically, we just change a bit like the workflow. So still, you can say that you want to deploy, I don't know, Postgres DB database. You can choose between like the manage mode or the container mode. Basically, the manage mode. So now you have like the explanation also of those elements right just below those selections and also on the right. But basically, the idea is still the same. On the manage mode, then it's a database that is provided by the cloud provider. So in that case, if I choose Postgres, then it will be RDS one that is provided. In container mode, it's just basically a container with a block storage that is attached to the container that is a spin-up. So faster to deploy, cheaper, but not as reliable as the managed one. Okay, so very, very similar to what we get. Basically, you can choose the versions if you want to expose or not your database. And then from that, you can set the CPU, the RAM, and the storage. Very easy. Very similar. One thing that will come in the future release of Qovery is basically the ability to provide like any kinds of database and being able to create modules. I'm not going to tease too much on that part because it would be like a subject from a next demo day, but basically you will be able to provide your own Terraform modules and like spin up any kinds of resources. That's what we are working on. And it's something that will be provided right from the interface as well. Okay. So that was just on the side note concerning like the database part. So if I go back to now concerning like the two main things that we were working on, and it's part of the V3, there is two things. So first, the RBAC system. Basically, role-based access control, they are just very simple to understand. if you're familiar already with Qovery, you know that from the V2, you were not able just to manage like the permissions for your users. So you were just able to basically add your team members in your team, so inviting them by email, and then they were all admins. That was basically what we did provide. Even if we wanted to provide from the V2 directly the ability to manage like roles. It was not the case, so we decided just to focus our effort on the V3 and provide that feature right from the V3. So now, if you are still using the V2, but you do consider to just manage like the permission from your users, you can do it from the V3. And it's basically getting into the settings of the organization. Then you have the member section. So it's very similar. You can still invite your team members by email, but you can also set the roles. And those roles, you can custom them. You have basically by default 4 roles that are provided: admin, billing, DevOps, viewer. But you can create your own custom roles. And for that, you have a tab, specific tabs, role and permissions that you can use and where you can create those roles. So if we want to create like a demo day users role, this is a demo day users role with a description. And we want to give them access, specific access, and restrict those the access from the people that are belonging to that role. Then it's now possible right from the interface and in a very easy way. Yes. Yes, this is the way it works when you have kids of 5. Okay. Anyway. Yes, Sophie. Okay. Tu vas me laisser maintenant. Sorry. It's a
She
nightmare.
loves so much her head.
Yeah. So, this is the way it works when you have kids at 5. It's a mess. Anyway. So this is the roles that you can customize. So you have the ability to set the permissions per project and per environment, basically. Okay. So here, for instance, we have the console v3 project. We have a different mode for each environment. So we have the development mode, preview, staging, production. We can give permissions like to that role and say that basically, for instance, this role, demo day user can deploy for that for all the environments, but maybe for the demo AWS project, just being like read-only or not getting access from the other project. So that's basically how you can just fine-grain control like all the access to the users. In the future, it will also evolve, but you can manage that very easily from this interface. And also you have the ability just to give access to at the cluster level, because with Qovery, you can manage multiple clusters from the interface. Basically, here I have 4 clusters, only one that is running. But what does that mean? It means that you can assign those roles to also those clusters, and then from that, the user will be able to deploy or not deploy, or also access to those clusters or not. Yes. Anything that I'm missing from that, Alessandro? Anything that you want to add?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, we're waiting for feedback from you guys, because we took as well some design decision as well from a feedback. But if you have any specific use case that you want us to cover via the RBAC system, feel free to contact us. We'll try to see how we can easily implement your use case as well.
Yeah. I see that we have a question in the chat, which I just pinged here. So it is, if I create a new environment, what is the default permission for that environment, and all role no access?
I can answer.
You want to respond?
Yeah, it's no access. So we do not give access by default to. Well, actually, no. Let me rephrase this, because the question is more about a new environment. So it depends on the environment type. Maybe if you can go back on the permission, Romaric,
yeah.
or one of the roles.
Let's pick like front-end team. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, here, for example, you have a project. Let's say that in this case is the console v3 project. So the permission are given by environment type. So if tomorrow you create, for example, a new environment of type development, you will still get the full access on this new environment of type development. On the other hand, if you create a new project, that's completely different. So indeed, for a new project, the role will get no access by default on all the environments. So you won't be able to create a new environment or play with the environments of this new project.
Yeah, only correct me if I'm wrong, but admins can access to those environments by default and do all the things. So yeah, admin could be able to add and do stuff, but the other roles, then they will have like no access for the new project. Yeah, very good question. Thanks,
Well,
Peter.
thank you. I hope it's answering to your questions. But yeah.
Yes, and that's it at the moment. Yeah. Maybe we can move on the container registry side. So that's the second thing that we were working on for like a couple of months. You were a lot to ask for that, but just to explain a bit more, what is the container? It's just basically, so with Qovery, if you remind from the V2, if I go back to the V2, thanks, Peter. Let's take like this demo environment. So in an environment with Qovery V2, you were just able to deploy two kinds of resources, application and database, basically. Okay. So that application was just basically picking a repository, a Git repository, and that's it. If you wanted to deploy directly a container that is already built, then you have somewhere in a container registry, then it was not possible to do that. For instance, one very common registry, public registry, is the Docker Hub. I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with the Docker Hub, because if you're using Docker locally and doing Docker pull exec images, Grafana or whatever, then that's the way that you can just get like access to those products. And with Qovery now, you can integrate directly your container registry with within your organization. Basically, in the V3, same, you have now the container registry tab accessible. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is just basically adding just a registry. You have different types that we do support and will provide even more in the future. But basically, you can just add those container registries. So if you pick Docker Hub, you can set its optional your credentials, and then from that, you will be able to access the images coming from Docker Hub. Same for ECR, SCR, and other that will come next. Once it's done, then from that, you can get into your environment, your project, your environment, and still create what we call an application. Okay. That applications, then you have two choices. They can come from different sources. From the Git, so similar to what we get in the V2, basically, and from your container registry. Container registry, then you pick your container registry. It could be like a private one or a public one. Okay, no problem. And then you can set the image that you want to deploy, the tag, okay, and then a name. So Grafana demo day. Okay, you can specify also the entry point of the image. If you're familiar with Docker, you know how it works, and also the CMD argument. The CPU, memory, number of instances, it's very similar to like a classic application. The only thing is that the image already exists. And then Qovery, what we do Qovery is that picking the image directly from that registry, not building the application. So it's very convenient for like a pre-built images for Grafana, for any kinds of services, RabbitMQ, for instance, all those services that are where you can find those images that are already provided in an official way by the different vendors. Okay. So here it's very similar. You can set a port to your application. So it could be like 80, for instance, here. And then from that, you can even expose that application and then create the application. But the Grafana set, okay, this tag doesn't exist. So that's why I have to go back. Let's pick a real tag. So Grafana Docker Hub, Grafana, up. Grafana. Okay, it's Grafana/Grafana and V8. Okay. Up. Oh, I'm pretty sure the tag will work now. Yes, it works. So you see, we even check that the tag does exist. One thing that you can do, by the way, because it's like not a very good practice, is using latest basically, because with Qovery, just to remind you, you can duplicate and create on-demand environments. Like in just one click, you can clone the environment. And we want to make sure that environment that has been cloned is exactly the same that you cloned. So if you start using latest, which is, it's not possible. You can't just use latest with Qovery. We do check that, and it's not possible to use a latest image, basically. Okay. Maybe one article that you can use if you are interested about like the way that Qovery works is this article that we have written, that is how we build Qovery basically, and we do explain all of that. And we have one section explaining the way that the container registry works and is integrated, and how you can integrate it into your workflow. Because the container image, using container image coming from container registry is really useful, especially when you're using a CI system like a GitHub Actions, GitLab CI, Cycle CI, because what you will have is that basically you will already have a flow where you push a final container image where all your tests have been passed, and then you will push that images into a container registry, and then these container images, you can directly use it to deploy it with Qovery. So that's what it's useful for. Okay. Any other points? Alessandro, do you want to add something on that?
No, I think you said most of the things. It behaves exactly like any other application that we had before from Git. So at the end, you will have the same environment variables, logs, statuses, etc. is exactly the same, except that so there is no this building phase because we are relying on an existing image. So we're basically skipping all the building phase.
Exactly. You have access to everything. It's very similar to the rest of common applications, as Alessandro said. Yeah. So thanks. I hope you enjoyed the demo, and Albane, it's good for you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. Another great demo of yours. If you don't mind, Romaric, just put maybe the link of the article you just mentioned into the comments.
Yeah.
So people can go and read it. But yeah, moving on, we will be speaking about what is next for Qovery, at least for the next month. So we do have a lot of great stuff in store for you, and many improvement coming. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's going to be the subject of another demo day, obviously. But we have new deployment log coming in the V3, upgrade to Kubernetes 1.22, and also parallel deployments, and much more. But there is one particular feature that has been widely expected. And when I say widely, is if it doesn't come in every conversation, in every, even in review that we have in everything, we have one thing missing, and it's deploying jobs. We know that, and we finally decided to tackle it. And for that, I will let Alessandro, which is lead product manager at Qovery, talk to us about it. And yeah, it's currently in development at the moment. Alessandro, I let you the stage.
Yeah, thank you, Albane. So I'll present you a little bit what we're working on right now to let you deploy jobs via Qovery. So as Albane said, unfortunately, we don't have a demo yet, but it's something that we will definitely do for the next demo days. So there are actually two main use cases that we will cover with this implementation. Next slide, please. So the first one is something that, so we will officially support scheduled job, so cron jobs. It's something that you've been asked, that have been asked a lot, many times on the forum, Intercom, the public roadmap. So we're finally close to provide them natively on our V3 interface. So you will be able basically to, there will be a new service within your environment, and you will be able to deploy the cron job from your Git repo or a container registry. So the same as the application, but you will also be able to specify, for example, the schedule of the execution of your job. And as well, of course, follow the execution of the job within the Kubernetes cluster. So it's going to be a job that is going to be executed on your cluster as any other application that we manage. For the second use case, we are creating actually the building blocks that we will use to let you extend basically the Qovery functionalities and empower your teams. Something that Romaric was saying before. So basically let you manage any resource that we do not manage at Qovery today. So for example, what we will try to do is just that you will be able to run jobs linked to the lifecycle of your environment. So more specifically, you will be able to define jobs and run them basically on the start, stop, and delete events which are happening on your environments. So for example, you can see in the schema, so for example, we have an environment deployment that has been triggered. So we know that we have, for example, one database and one application to be deployed. This is nothing changed like before. But you can also define, for example, one job, for example, J1, that will be triggered and deployed and run only when the deployment starts. At the same time, you can also define, for example, on the environment stops, we also have the same behavior. So we're going to have the services, for example, the database and the application that will be stopped. But at the same time, you can also define another job, for example, J2, that will be run only when the environment stops. So how can you use this kind of jobs? Basically, you can define life cycles of a new resources. For example, you will be able, first time you'll be able as well to see your database. So for example, you can define one job which is run at the start of your environment to feed, for example, the database that has been created on your preview environment. As well, for example, another use case you can do, for example, to create resources which are not managed by Qovery today. For example, you have one Lambda that you want to deploy. For example, you can have one first job that is going to deploy the Lambda at the environment starts, and you can have a second job that is going to basically destroy this Lambda when the environment is deleted. And as well, so you can extend basically the Qovery functionality, because at the end you have all the building blocks. You have a job that you can run any code that you want based on the lifecycle of the environment. So all of these will be available this quarter only on the V3. And of course, we also be available via the API or our Terraform provider, of course. That's pretty much it for me. Probably there is a Q&A session. And anything you want to add there, Romaric or Albane, on this topic?
Yeah, I just shared like a link from a concrete use case why lifecycle jobs are very useful for. I can advise more than what Alessandro just said, but basically, like, we try to make sure that Qovery is something that is not. We try just to provide the right tool set to our users to make sure that they can use anything. Like, they can extend the solutions. They get like something that is much more close to a framework than anything else. Like, this lifecycle jobs is really like an enabler in that way, because if you need to schedule and to create any kinds of external resources, then it's like just possible, really possible, because you can execute anything. Anything that you can put in a container could be like executed. So it could be a script. Then you can provision RDS instances, any kinds of like a services, Lambdas, anything. And it's really powerful. This is exactly where we go through, because I told you, so Qovery is like really a system that makes you able to create what we call production-like environments. And to create those production-like environments, you need just to schedule to be able to create any kinds of resources, all the resources that you have in production, but for like development purpose. So yeah, this is really like the idea behind, and it's something that we are working on.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add on my side. Thank you so much, Alessandro, for the explanation. And like, I think, like everyone else, I cannot wait to see it live. So before the end of this quarter, you will be able try it. And again, like Alessandro was saying, don't hesitate to give reviews, post things on the forum if you want to, like, because we are doing new things. We have the V3 that is out and all of that. Your comments, your review, and all of the improvement we can do are super essential, because at the end is what matter. Like, do you like the product? Do you like how the feeling of it and all of that? So really don't hesitate to post things. So I think, unfortunately, we don't have much time for question. If you do have question, you can just post them on the chat and we will answer to them even after, like no problem about it. Just contact us in this chat or in the forum, anywhere. We will be super happy to answer to this question. And otherwise, I want to say thank you to Romaric and Alessandro for joining me today. It was a pleasure to have you. And I also want to say thank you to the rest of the team. I can see that the front-end team is here. So I want to say thank you to them for the V3, and thanks to the rest of the team, which is also there. I saw the comments. And also thanks to everyone which is watching this live today or the recording someday after. And otherwise, I think I can say see you next month for the next demo day, which is going to be the last one of the year. So we will try to make it special. But yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Albane. Thank you, Alessandro.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye.